Next up, fascinating fight, guys. Some would say a wrestler versus grappler matchup in the co-main event of the evening. We got Bryce Mitchell, Thug Nasty, taking on Dan 50K Ige. Two great nicknames, two fun fighters in the featherweight division. Bryce Mitchell, coming off of a really, really tough fight last time out, went against Ilia Topuria, could very well be the future champion of the division, a guy who seems like he's cut from that cloth. He's got knockout power. He's got excellent Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and it just seemed like a fight where Bryce Mitchell was running out of ideas quickly. He didn't really have a great path to getting the fight to the floor. He seemed like he was getting lit up with so much damage in the early going. His defense has really failed him there. Didn't have the requisite answers to deal with a guy like Topuria, who's so potent on offense. And speaking of guys who are potent on offense, it's certainly not to the same degree as somebody like Ilia Topuria, but I kind of rate Dan Ige as well. I think he's a very dangerous guy in this featherweight division. You look back, I always admit when I get it, I'll tell you guys when I get it right, but I'll tell you guys when I get it wrong. And I've made money betting on Dan Ige, but just by a hair, because I did lose some money betting on Gavin Tucker against this guy. Gavin Tucker, real skills on paper, very talented guy, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, all the things that you want to check a box. And he got knocked out with one punch flat because Dan Ige's got real power in his hands. He's dynamic in that way. The UFC has given this man a brutal strength of schedule. Let's just talk about the guys that he's been fighting. So he got to the UFC, guys, after a Contender Series bout in 2017. Okay, so early Contender Series guy, came in, fights Julio Arce in 2018, loses there, goes on a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 fight win streak, including wins over Edson Barboza, Mirsad Bektic, Kevin Aguilar, Danny Henry, Jordan Griffin, Mike Santiago. He loses to Calvin Kattar, top 5 guy. Chan Sung Jung, just retired, top 5 guy. Josh Emmett, probably should retire, but just fought for, a title. Top 5 guy, basically. Movsar Evloev, future top 3 guy. These are really serious fighters that he's been going in there and losing to. Granted, he's not winning these fights, but he's getting a ton of incredible experience. And you look, this guy is 32 years of age. All right. He's not a spring chicken, certainly not for this featherweight division, but he's not old either. 32 is kind of right in between. You got a guy in Bryce Mitchell. He's 28 years of age. He's got excellent grappling, excellent top pressure. All those things are true. But he's also a guy that's been fighting, a lower quality of competition overall. Let's look at Bryce Mitchell's run. He's 6-1 in the UFC, but Brad Katona, the guy who just won the Ultimate Fighter, beat him on the Ultimate Fighter, right? So shout out to Brad Katona, has been doing the damn thing for a long time. But you could poke a real hole in this resume, guys. Tyler Diamond, never heard of him, right? And I'm kidding, but like not a guy that is lighting up, UFC screens around the world. Bobby Moffitt, another guy released from the organization shortly thereafter. Matt Sales, guy that just couldn't hack it on the mats, particularly in the UFC. No slight on him. Charles Rosa, a guy who can't buy a win in the UFC. We always talk about that on the show. All love to Charles, Renzo Gracie guy, just can't buy a win right now in the UFC. And then Edson Barboza and Andre Fili. Those are 2 good wins. So he's got 2 good wins along the way. I would say Dan Ige's got 2 good wins, right? So I don't think one guy head and shoulders above the other. And then when you look at the losses, though, he's getting finished by Ilia Topuria, where, by the way, he got submitted there. Guys, he got beat up badly, took a ton of damage. Then you look at the fact that he got finished by Brad Katona. That's a little bit concerning. Got finished by Brian Tidwell all the way back in the day. Bryce Mitchell, if he loses a fight, he tends to get finished, right? He's also had a couple fights where he wins that are very close, nip-tuck type fights. I know the Andre Fili fight was a unanimous decision. I believe it's a 29-28 across the board. It wasn't like he just blew him out of the water there. You see, when this guy's forced to strike on the feet, his striking's a bit basic. He's got power, right? He's a real if y'all have ever gone in combat sports with farmers, with guys that do manual labor, things like this, people that work with their hands and stuff, there is real strength to that. There is no taking away from that. One of the strongest kids I ever wrestled, I asked him, hey, man, how are you so damn strong? You lifting weights every day? What are you doing? And he said, I lift shingles with my father. Like, there's just some people out there that are doing real work, and it makes them incredibly strong. I think Bryce Mitchell, that is true of him. But here's the other thing, guys. Let's just call a spade a spade. There's a lot of shit going on outside the ring for Bryce Mitchell that's not very inspiring. He's got, things going on with his ex-girlfriend, like domestic disputes and whatever else. tattoos and all, like they're like people yelling back and forth on social media. You know what I think of that as? Distractions, things that I don't want my fighter to have going on. This guy after his last fight was talking about, I guess I'm not as good as I thought I was. Maybe it's time to retire and stuff. Things that you never really want to hear a fighter saying, even in the direct aftermath of a loss. So yeah, he's getting back out there. Yeah, he's getting on the horse. Is Dan Ige just some punk that's going to roll over for him? God, no, I don't see that at all. And Dan Ige, a little bit susceptible on the mats at times, but let's call a spade here as well. I believe he's a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He's a guy who's 32 years of age. He's not going to get much better. He's either as good at grappling as he's going to get, basically. And I feel like he's a guy that's putting it together and not easy to take down, not easy to control, not easy to hold down for some of these elite athletes at the top of the division, like a Movsar Evloev. And you look back, Chan Sung Jung was, basically forced to take him down in that fight because Dan Ige was starting to have some success on the feet. You look back, this guy who's been hurt before, he rallies, he recovers, he does a great job showing a poker face, never really giving it up when he gets hurt. You look at Dan Ige's whole career, guys, no losses inside the distance, 7-6 career to the decision. So if this one goes to the cards, I think it's anybody's ball game, right? I think Bryce Mitchell, maybe with the takedowns, with the control, with the upside there, maybe he gets it done. But what if we've been seeing a trend towards people that do damage, that bust somebody up, that land the big shots when they have an opportunity? Those guys have been winning rounds and fights. And Dan Ige can bust you up in a short period of time. He can knock you the hell out. He could drop you. He could hit you with big punches. He could bust up your face. He could elbow you, cut you up. I feel like he's a problem, man. I feel like he's a very well-schooled, well-seasoned fighter, and I'll tell you what, I wouldn't want to step in the ring with him. When he knocked out Gavin Tucker, you know what he said? I was here for a clean kill. This is a man who puts together very good game plans, knows exactly what his opponent's tendencies are, and he's looking to exploit that and take him out. I don't think he's an easy fight at all. And you look at Dan Ige's resume in the UFC, 9-5. Let's put some respect on the guy's name. That's an excellent resume in the UFC, and he can move that to 10-5 if he gets another win over Bryce Mitchell. Not going to be an easy task, right? Bryce Mitchell 6-1 in the UFC, very good record. But he's a guy that seems like he's got a lot going on outside the cage. Seems like he's got a life outside of fighting that would be just fine for him. And I feel like Dan Ige, he doesn't have a backup plan. He doesn't have an exit strategy. He doesn't have his foot in, two different places. I feel like he is all in every fight. Plus 175, it's a dog or pass situation for me pretty clearly on this co-main event. And maybe, I tape it and I go, oh my God, Dan Ige is so much worse on the mat than I remember. But unless I'm like blanking on like terrible grappling tape from Dan Ige that's just not coming to mind for me, I feel like he is probably the side in this fight. I feel like he's a game fighter who's got a lot of power, good physical attributes, very well prepared in every position, coming out of a great team. There's a lot of great things I could say about Dan Ige. And he's the kind of guy that more often than not, I want to have my money on him unless he's going against somebody where the skill gap is just insane. And I'm not sure that I see that here. I don't see one massive edge for Bryce Mitchell except in his, ability to get finishes on the mat. He's certainly a more prolific submission hunter. But making the guy like Dan Ige say uncle, good luck with that, brother. That's tough sledding in my view. He'd need a control style decision, in my view, to get the win. Cashville Regan says, what's up at Liam Picks Fights? Y'all hit the like button. Por favor, please do. It would mean a lot to me, guys. I appreciate it. Trying to bring the show to you here on the road. And I'm still very excited because we got a lot more great fights to break down. And I appreciate everybody who's rocking with us live in the chat. If you haven't dropped a like already, make sure you do that. And make sure you guys get subscribed to the channel. The goal right now, guys, 3,000 subscribers by the end of the summer. That's been my goal. I've been working towards it, pushing towards it. We're getting just so close. So if you can throw a subscribe on there, if you haven't already, I would really appreciate it. We got plenty more fights to talk about today